powers and experiences belong first to the body. We have to read it, huh?
Yes, we
Yes,
have to
Rangada.
read it.
Yeah, okay.
I
So,
can read it. I can
okay.
read it.
Yeah, you were absent for 3 days, so punishment. You read it. Okay, read. These powers and experiences.
These powers and experiences belong first to the vital and mental planes above this physical in which we live and to the body. As
Yeah.
the dependence on the physical body decreases, these abnormal activities become possible and even manifest themselves without being sought for. They can be
Yes,
guided and
your
fixed by
connection is bad.
processes.
Yes,
Which
your connection is bad. Yes, see, tighten all the connection. Just tighten.
Okay, let me go to another room then.
Okay,
I'll go to another room.
okay,
Let me try there.
okay.
Now, can you all hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you, and um, your square is blue tinted. So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm reading from the beginning.
Right, go ahead. That's it.
These powers and experiences belong first to the vital and mental planes above the physical in which we live, and are natural to the soul in the subtle body. As the dependence on the physical body decreases, these abnormal activities become possible and even manifest themselves without being sought for. They can be acquired and fixed by processes which the science gives, and their use then becomes subject to the will, or they can be allowed to develop of themselves and used only when they come or when the divine within moves us to use them, or else, even though thus naturally developing and acting, they may be rejected in a single minded devotion to the one supreme goal of the yoga. Secondly, there are fuller, greater powers belonging to the supramental planes, which are the very powers of the divine in his spiritual and supramentally ideative being. These cannot be acquired at all securely or integrally by personal effort, but can only come from above, or else can become natural. So the man, if and when he ascends beyond mind and lives in the spiritual being, power, consciousness, and ideation, they then become not abnormal and laboriously acquired siddhis, but simply the very nature and method of his action. If he still continues to be active in the world existence.
Okay, so very clearly he has given us what we say. Let's look at it. These powers and experiences, he is talking about the Ashtasiddhis. Okay? Anima, Garima, Lagima, Mahima, okay, Prakamyam, Aishwaryam, all these 8 powers are there. You can get what you want. You can also become the master of your environment and yourself. All these powers are there. So he's saying these powers and experiences belong first to the vital and mental planes above this physical in which we live. So the physical is the identification with the body, and then sometimes in sleep, your being is going out in the subtle body, and the subtle body includes the vital and the mental bodies. Okay, so you can experience these in the vital and the mental planes. You can go in sleep. Okay? So and then you can, your gross body is lying on the bed, and you are going out, having experiences and coming back into the body when you wake up, are natural to the soul in the subtle body. They are very natural. You feel you are, we all dream sometimes that we are flying, huh? So that's natural. But it is not natural in the physical world. Okay, so as the dependence on the physical body decreases, okay, that means your yoga is slowly, your identification with the body is becoming less and less and less. These abnormal activities, abnormal in the physical level, become possible and even manifest themselves without being sought for. For instance, in Sri Aurobindo case, he discovered suddenly in jail that he is floating. Okay? He almost only one part of his body was touching the wall, and the rest of it is all suspended in the air. So levitation, that is anima, laghima. Laghima is lightness in the body. All these things are possible. And he didn't ask for it. It just came by itself. Okay? That's what he said. And the Scottish guard who looked into his cell found him in that almost like a floating in the air. He got frightened and ran away. Okay, so these are the abnormal activities become possible and even manifest themselves without being sought for. They can be acquired and fixed by processes which is science. Which science? The science of Raja Yoga. Okay? The science gives. And their use then becomes subject to the will. So when they come, you can actually, but there are processes, there are laws that operate, and you can become master of these powers, and then you can subject it to the will. Okay? Will becomes, you can, by will, you can use them. A good example of all these powers are the symbolic story of Hanuman in Lanka. He is becoming as big as he wants, he is becoming as small as he wants, and then he also becomes light. Okay, so he can also become heavy. These are symbolic of these powers that you can have. You can even disappear. So as the dependence on the physical body decreases, these abnormal activities become possible. Okay? And they manifest themselves without being sought for. They can be acquired and fixed by processes which the science gives, and their use then becomes subject to will. Or they can be allowed to develop by themselves. Because if you are wanting to develop the powers, then is there not a little bit of element of selfishness and attachment? Okay, I want these powers and I want to develop them. So that can be a dangerous thing. So Chandra is saying they can be allowed to develop. Let them come of themselves. I am not interested in them. And use only when they come. When they come by themselves unsought for, then you can use them in a very impersonal manner. If you start using them in a very personal manner for very, very clear selfish ends, you will be in trouble. Or when the divine within moves us to use them. For instance, Rambo is sitting in Pondicherry and using these powers, influencing world events. We know that. He interfered even in the Sinn Féin movement. The Sinn Féin movement is the Irish Revolution against the British. Okay. So this is what Rambo is doing. He influenced things in Russia. He influenced things in Turkey. Okay. So all those things he was doing. Samrajyam and Swarat. Swarat and Samrat. Swarat, you become king of the emperor of yourself, your own nature, and also you become Samrat. Even in the physical world, outside yourself, you can influence events. They can be acquired, so it's very gentle. And the divine within moves us to use them. Or else, even though thus naturally developing and acting, they may be rejected in a single-minded devotion to the one supreme goal of the yoga. Even if the powers come to you, you say, I don't want these. I'm interested only in complete union with the divine. So you concentrate more on them without using these powers. When the divine within moves us, they may be rejected in a single-minded devotion to the one supreme goal of the yoga. Secondly, there are fuller greater powers belonging to the supramental planes. These planes that he's talking about is in the level 2, they are all mind planes. No? Higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, and overmind. They are higher mind planes, but they are mind planes. So here you can use these powers, but in the supramental level 3, these powers become even more fantastic. Okay. So that's what he's saying. Single mind. Secondly, there are fuller, greater powers belonging to the supramental planes, which are the very powers of the divine in his spiritual and supramentally ideative being. The way ideative is the capacity to put your idea into effectivity, to put your idea into practical manifestation in the physical world. Supramentally ideative being. That is necessary, because if it's only an idea, then it's not a power, but the power to manifest it. He's talking of powers. So that's why he used the word supramentally ideative being. Whatever is your intention, and your intention is not selfish. When you are at that level, you are doing the divine work. And the divine is telling you, do this, and you do it. Okay. That mother was using her powers to help people. And also once, very interesting, there was a man who came to mother and told her that some tantric or somebody is doing something to me, and I'm feeling the ill effects of this. I don't remember exactly what the ill effect was. Maybe it was health. Okay. So that mother said to him, give me a photograph of that man. And she got the photograph, and then she used her power. Okay. The one who witnessed this incident told me himself. Okay. He said, mother took that photograph, and with a black or a red pen, I don't remember, she, with full concentration, she scratched the photograph like that, a big cross like that, and threw it on the ground. Now, all that influence of that man on the sadhak was cancelled. So these are the type of powers that you can do. Okay. So that's what they're saying. Supramentally ideative being. At that level, even the ideas that you have, or even the instructions given by the divine to you, is an idea in the mind first, but it can be made absolutely practical in the physical world. Supramentally ideative being. These cannot be acquired at all securely or integrally by personal effort. Because if you do personal effort, is there not a certain intention and attachment? No? So it's better not to do that. Okay. If you do that, you'll be in trouble, because then the ego is there. It's an egoistic effort, personal effort. But can only come from above. So at our level, by personal effort and the physical level, they cannot come. And also it will harm you if you try to do that, because you are increasing the ego, but can come only from above. In other words, you have to yourself rise to the higher levels, and then they will manifest in you automatically. They come from above. Or else can become natural to the man if and when he ascends beyond mind and lives in the spiritual being. Just like there are certain facilities available in a country, and if you want those facilities, you have to go there. In India, we don't get, in South India, we don't get snow. But if you want to get snow, you have to go to the place where snow is there. So these powers are there in the higher worlds. And if you want those powers, or you want or not, you go to them, they will be available to you. So that's what he's saying. But you have to climb beyond the mind and lives in the spiritual being, power, consciousness, and ideation. So when he is saying spiritual being, power, consciousness, and ideation, he is meaning at the highest levels of the spiritual planes or the supramental plane. They then become not abnormal and laboriously acquired siddhis, but simply the very nature and method of the action. It still continues to be active in the physical world existence. But he may not be active in the world existence because he may have rejected it. And then he is not using his power at all. When you reject the world, that's it. So see the language now. If he continues to be active in the world existence, if he is not, he doesn't need the powers. He is just wanting liberation. He just wants liberation and he gets it. So that's it. So now we can go to the next para. On the whole. Archana, if you are possible, then you read, because later on you can't.
Yes, Pankaj.
Yeah, go ahead. On the whole.
On the whole, for an integral yoga, the special methods of Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga may be useful at times in certain stages of the progress, but are not indispensable. It is true that their principal aims must be included in the integrality of the yoga, but they can be brought about by other means. For the methods of the integral yoga must be mainly spiritual, and dependence on physical methods or fixed psychic or psychophysical processes on a large scale would be the substitution of a lower for a higher action. We shall have occasion to touch upon this question later when we come to the final principle of synthesis in method to which our examination of the different yogas is intended to lead. End of the part 1 and 2.
You see, they have come to the end of a section. And so part 3 is the next one. Okay. So he has finished with the knowledge aspect. Now he comes to the divine love. So that is part 3. As we have said, there is the works, karma yoga, then jnana yoga. Now he comes to bhakti yoga. But we'll read the para that Archana has read just now. And if we have time, we'll go into the bhakti yoga section. The bhakti yoga section is the smallest. It's not big. Then the last section is the integral perfection. Sri Aurobindo own method. Okay. So I'm reading each sentence. Very easy, nothing difficult. On the whole, for an integral yoga, the special methods of Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga may be useful at times. For instance, all the concentration and all that is necessary. Okay. And if your body is very restless, then you can even resort to asanas. In fact, asanas was very much encouraged in the ashram at the physical level. Okay. Every demonstration that we used to have on 2nd December, Ambu used to have one item was always asanas. He would go in the middle of the playground and he would perform these asanas. Okay. So it was very much, it was not discouraged at all. Okay. So maybe useful at times in certain stages of progress, but are not indispensable. It is true that their principal aims must be included in the integrality of the yoga. So when you think of yoga as a whole subject, then these methods can definitely be included. So they're saying must be included because they are methods, and many people in the world may find those more useful than those psychological methods. But they can be brought about by other means, psychological means. What it means is we don't need to have physical and vital processes. Both Hatha Yoga and Raj Yoga are mainly based on physical and vital processes. Vital because breathing, okay, and rejection of the senses, all these things are vital. So Siddha is saying there are better methods. Use in the mind, concentration in the mind, and also surrender, okay, and also rejection. These methods that he is referring to, he has given very clearly in the Mother. So he says there are 3 methods which are fundamental to the integral yoga. Number 1, constant remembrance and aspiration. If you remember the divine, it's a form of aspiration only. So aspiration about surrender at the middle level, okay? And what is meant by surrender? you accept everything that happens to you without disturbance. Okay? You feel that this is a very tricky thing. We'll discuss that a little more in detail afterwards. And the third one is rejection below. So you have to reject everything that is you perceive as being harmful to you. Normal people who are not doing yoga do not even perceive that these things are harmful to you. Okay? You have a desire and you fulfill it. You are not even aware that it is harmful to you. Harmful from the spiritual point of view. Then there is anger. In fact, many people tell you that anger is necessary. I was very surprised once when someone told me that anger has to be used sometimes on children, otherwise they will not learn. But that's not true. And anger is always going to harm you. So, better to use these others. So, rejection. So, 3 methods of interior yoga: constant remembrance, the most powerful method; surrender to the divine when even unpleasant things happen to you. You calmly accept them as though they are coming from the divine without being disturbed. Okay, but that doesn't mean to say that you accept everything that comes to you in a very calm method. Okay? So I'll give you an example. There is Nagin Doshi who wrote to Sri Aurobindo. Sir, I have understood now what is surrender and what is. I won't seek for anything myself, but if anything comes to me, I will accept it very happily. So Sri Aurobindo says, of course not. If someone gives you a bottle of whiskey, you will accept very happily. So discrimination is necessary. Okay? So surrender means you accept and try to see the reason why it has happened to you. Of course, you can accept very happily when divine help comes to you. But when untoward incidents, okay, harmful incidents happen, or something which is hurting you, then you have to see why it is happening. And if you see that, you will always see that there is something in you, an imperfection in you, which is attracting this opposite force from outside. So this is something very interesting. I had a discussion one day with a foreigner, and he is very unhappy because his views are not being taken into account, okay, by the his companions. So he is very miserable. So I had to tell him once very carefully that everything that happens to you, you are the sole responsible person for that. Okay? This is a great principle in the Sanatana Dharma, the Indian idea. You are yourself constructing your own future and your own fate. Nobody is responsible for that. We have a tendency to always blame others. Oh, he did this to me. This is what happened, circumstance. That's why I failed. All this sort of thing. Absolutely false. You are yourself the maker of your own destiny. So I just gave it to him as a seed form and told him, you look into this with this principle. Okay? Don't think that others are harming you and others are not taking into account. Why it is happening, look into yourself. So the 3 methods of yoga, but Sri Aurobindo is mentioning here, other methods he's saying, they are the remembrance, aspiration, surrender, and rejection. Rejection is very necessary. You just don't look at your anger and say, oh, I got angry. Maybe it's not right. No, not at all. You have to reject it. It's not only an observation. First of all, of course, you have to observe, and then you have to reject forcibly. That's difficult. That's not very easy. So then he's saying, but the methods of the integral yoga must be spiritual, not physical and vital. And dependence on physical methods or fixed psychic or psychophysical processes, okay, on a large scale would be a substitution of a lower for a higher action. So you can, the 3 things that we mentioned are a higher action, and the divine will do it for you. So he's not telling you not to use. He's telling you it's a lower thing. He's not forbidding you from asanas and pranayama, but he's saying that there are better methods. We shall have occasion to touch upon this question later when we come to the final principle of synthesis, which is the 4th section, the integral perfection, which we'll do after the divine love section. Final principle of synthesis in method to which our examination of the different yogas is intended to lead. So we have got 15 minutes, so we can start the next section. Okay. The next section, part 3. Yoga of divine love, Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so we can start now. Love and the triple path. So, Sarojani, she's there. So, would you like to read? Love. The lotus, the rose petals came up. The screen. Yeah. So, Sarojani, can you hear me? Otherwise, somebody else can. Sumki, you can read. Will, love, and the triple path. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Love and the triple path. Will, knowledge, and love are the three deep powers in human nature and life of man, and they point to the three paths by which they rises to the divine. The integral, the union of the three must, as we be the foundation of an integral.
What's the matter today? Your internet also is jumping. So
Really?
everybody's internet is jumping today. Okay,
Can
so
I read?
yeah, no, you read it. It's okay. Will, knowledge, and love. They correspond obviously to Satchit Ananda. Not Sat, but will is Shakti. Will is a function of Shakti. Knowledge is a result of consciousness. And love is the result of Ananda. They are all, these are the three things. Constantly, you will see that he is referring back to Satchidananda. Okay? Will, knowledge, and love. By the way, will, the Shakti aspect, is spoken of in the Western philosophy very much as will. They don't speak of it as force. But in India, we say force. And Sri Aurobindo has grown up in the West, so he is also using the word will. But obviously, it means power, Shakti. Will, knowledge, and love are the three divine powers in human nature. In the divine nature, they are Chit, Shakti, Ananda. But in the human will, they become will, knowledge, and love. Are the three divine powers in human nature and the life of man. And they point to the three paths by which the human soul rises to the divine. What are the three paths? Very clearly, okay? Knowledge is the Jnana Yoga, love is the Bhakti Yoga, and will would probably correspond to the Karma Yoga. The integrality of them all together, okay, the union of man with God in all the three must therefore, as we have seen, be the foundation of an integral yoga. So Sremda is encouraging you to practice all the three. And if you follow those three methods, okay, aspiration above, surrender, and rejection, okay, then you are doing the integral yoga. Psychologically, you are not doing anything psychophysical or physically, you are not doing. As I said, they are not forbidden. You can do that. But it's mainly these three methods that we use. We can go to the next one. Shilpa, can you read?
Yes, I can remember.
Go ahead. Action is the first.
Yes, I'm ready. Yes. Action. Action is the first power of life. Action is the first power of life. Nature begins with force and its works, which one conscious in man, become will and its achievements. Therefore, it is that by turning his action Godwards, the life of man best and most surely begins to become divine. It is the door of first access, the starting point of the initiation, when the will in him is made one with the divine will, and the whole action of the being proceeds from the divine and is directed towards the divine. The union in works is perfectly accomplished. But works fulfill themselves in knowledge. All the totality of works, says the Gita, finds its round culmination in knowledge. So, Prarum Karmada Hilam uh, Hilam Dhyana Parishmapayate
I'll read it. Sarvam
Parismapayate
jnane parisamapyate.
Parisamapyate. By union in will and works, we become one in the omnipresent conscious being from whom all our will and works have their rise and draw their power, and in whom they fulfill the round of their energies. And the crown of this union is love. For love is the delight of conscious union with the being in whom we live, act, and move, by whom we exist, for whom alone we learn in the end to act and to be. That is the trinity of our powers and the union of all three in God, to which we arrive when we start from works as our way of access and our line of contact.
So that's why the first section was Karma Yoga. Then he came to Jnana Yoga, and now he is coming to Bhakti Yoga. So, will, that we read, will, knowledge, and love. So action is the first power of love, corresponding to will. Okay, action is the first power of love. In the physical world, the movement is the main thing. Consciousness is there in matter, but it is hiding. It is not apparent. What is apparent in the physical world is movement and power. In the blowing of the wind, the river, the flowing of the river, the sunlight, everything is all power. Okay? Movement, action, energy. This is the first power of life. Action is the first power of life. Nature begins with force. We can see that. Wherever you see nature, there is force. And its works, its results, which once conscious in man, become will and its achievements. So that is the power corresponds to the will. You can see that. Therefore, it is that by turning his action Godwards, the life of man, best and most surely, he should have put commas there. Okay? Maybe the life of man, comma, best and most surely, comma, begins to become divine. It is the door of first access. So, Karma Yoga, the door of first access, the starting point of the initiation. When the will in him is made one with the divine will, and the whole action of the being proceeds from the divine and is directed towards the divine, the union in works is perfectly accomplished. When you identify yourself with the divine, then your work in the physical world also becomes perfectly divine. But works fulfill themselves in knowledge. The moment you get that, works when you get more and more knowledge as you go on working. Okay? And all the totality of works, says the Gita, finds its rounded culmination in knowledge. This is Gita's Sarvam Karmakhilam Jnane Parisamapyate. Sarvam Karmakhilam. Akhilam, full, complete. Sarvam, karma. Or Jnane, it ends in knowledge. Jnane Parisamapyate. All the path of Karma Yoga, when perfected, ends in knowledge. That's what he's saying. By union in will and works, we become one with the omnipresent conscious being from whom all our will and works and their rise and draw their power, and in whom they fulfill the round of their energies. So that's why the Karma Yoga is the most powerful. Jnana Yoga, you are sitting and you are going up, and then when you come down again, you are again the same imperfect being. But when you do Karma Yoga, then you are constantly waking and thinking of the divine and offering everything to him. If there's no dichotomy, the perfection becomes part of your life. That's why it's the most powerful. Mother always encouraged work. We become aware and power in whom we fulfill the Rama nature. And the crown of this union, so first your Karma Yoga, it ends in Jnana, and Jnana gives you love. It's also true even at the physical level that when you know something or someone, then there is love that comes. Intimacy comes with the knowing of people. For love is the delight of conscious union with the being in whom we live, act, and move, okay? By whom we exist. He's talking of the divine, of course, for whom alone we learn in the end to act and to do. Everything that we are doing, everything that we are thinking, willing, is all for the divine. That is the trinity of our powers. Knowledge, will, and Ananda. That is the trinity of our powers. The union of all three in power, to whom we arrive when we start from works as our way of access and our line of contact. So very clearly he is telling you that karma yoga is of primary importance. I think we have only 2 minutes left, so this we will take up next time. He is giving you the background, and as I told you, the love section is the smallest. Then we come to the perfection, interior yoga. That's a long one. I think there are 4 or 5 chapters here, 4 or 5 or 6 chapters, small chapters, not big. So next Friday, we will start with knowledge is the foundation of a constant living. Okay? So, have a nice day, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Rangada.